Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Animel. If you haven't been here before, I'm Mel, the host of this channel. Frieren Beyond Journey's End is a new anime that's kind of taken social media by storm. Why, you may ask? Well, that's because for the first time in a long time, there's a new anime that has taken the top position on My Anime List. If you don't know what My Anime List, it's basically a website that aggregates all anime and also manga and allows viewers and fans to basically rate and rank their favorite anime. And for the first time in a long time, this anime has surpassed a favorite anime amongst the anime community, which is Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. And while this video is not to say that Full Metal is better than Frieren, or Frieren is better than Full Metal, but it's the question as to why it's gotten so high, and why it's even on par with Full Metal Alchemist. In this video, I'll dive into the different themes and why more or less both of these anime seem to rank so high on My Anime List, and as to why they've become fan favorites, both old and new, in the anime community. If you haven't watched Frieren or Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, then please go watch them. But a quick synopsis on both is that Full Metal Alchemist is about two brothers who, in exchange for their bodies and body parts to try and bring back their deceased mother, go on a journey and a quest to basically regain their bodies and body parts. And as for Frieren, Frieren is about an elf who basically has been living for thousands of years. And the people in her party that she used to fight with and defeated the demon lord with have passed on and gotten old. Being that she is a near immortal being, this story is basically Frieren's life after a journey, after a battle adventure, and what she does afterwards. It's a lighthearted story that explores human nature a bit and the meaning of life. Throughout the story, we explored new experiences for Frieren as she takes the opportunity to understand humans more. She takes on an apprentice, which she said that she'd never do, but eventually does. And she's very apathetic, so when we start to see Frieren experience emotion based on her memories and her new interactions, it makes the story quite emotionally provoking. Now that you know what both stories are about, let's talk about the main themes in Frieren, because this whole video is mostly about Frieren. I'm going to sidestep Full Metal Alchemist a bit, but I'll talk about how they have certain things in common a few times throughout the video. The first and the biggest theme that I noticed amongst both Full Metal Alchemist and Frieren is that there's this exploration of life, or death, both essentially. Since Frieren is basically an immortal type being, since she lives for thousands and thousands of years, she doesn't experience the same emotions, desires, and motivations that humans do, just due to the fact that humans have very fleeting lives in comparison to an elf's life. After defeating the demon lord with her original party, her adventure party, she leaves for like 50 years and then comes back to meet up with her party members again for a special occasion. At this point, one of the party members dies. And for one of the first times in Frieren's life, she realizes that even though she's been coexisting with humans, she doesn't really get to know them well and she doesn't really understand them well. And through her party member's death, Himmel, she realizes that there's so much more out there. So at this point, Frieren is kind of looking for a meaning to life, a meaning to her journeys, a meaning in general. And with the help and a push from one of her other party members, Heiter, she takes on an apprentice who goes on a journey with her once she gets a lot older, Fern, and finds herself throughout this journey with Fern, remembering all the good times that she had with her old party members from 50 to 7 years ago. I think it's about 70 years at this point, 70 plus years. And all the times that she didn't really understand her party members, or she didn't understand their mannerisms, she reflects back and learns them and understands them again through her experiences with Fern. To some extent, Full Metal Alchemist can be seen in a similar way, where instead of being immortal, the main characters of Full Metal Alchemist have a limit on their lives just due to the loss of their bodies. And it's all about living your life to the fullest and to basically pull out all the stops to make sure that whatever you want to get accomplished gets accomplished. Continuing with the theme of life and death, Frieren is also looking to better understand herself and her emotions. more specifically when Himmel passes away. Frieren is crying and seems extremely confused because she says, I didn't even really know him that well. And it can be taken both ways, as she didn't know him that well, so why is she crying? Or she didn't know him that well and should have gotten to know him more, and that's why she's crying. So it's an exploration of dealing with death and grief, mostly the death of her party members, and how to basically deal with that. Very earlier on in the season, Frieren and Fern come across a statue, Himmel's statue, and she decides that she wants to plant his favorite flower around his statue. This flower is thought to be extinct and nowhere to be found, so she spends half a year looking for this flower. Because if she's able to see the flower, then she's able to create a spell to recreate the flower. This is kind of the means and the method in how Frieren is looking to better understand herself, explore her emotions, and deal with the grief of the passing of her party member. I would say similarly in her taking in Fern. This was basically at the request of Heiter, because Heiter saved Fern from basically being an orphan. So Frieren, always known to be a loner, especially because the village that she came from, they basically killed all the elves in that village and she was the only one left, now goes on to take on new party members in her current journey. Additionally, this story's main objective is for Frieren to get to this place where you're able to essentially talk with the ghosts or the souls of people who have passed on. Because again, she feels like she didn't get to know Himmel enough that she really wants to see him again and converse with him again. And you can tell that she misses him dearly through the different memories that you get throughout the story. And similar with Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, the two brothers have a really hard time in dealing with their mother's death, to the point that they've sacrificed themselves in their own bodies to try and bring her back. And now they grieve the fact that one brother has lost his entire body and his soul now lives on in a metal suit, while the other brother has lost an arm and a leg. So they still kind of grieve the loss of their mother, they grieve the loss of their own selves and their own body parts, and the losses of other people throughout the story. So I'll say, just from the jump, my theory behind why both, and why Frieren specifically, has ranked so high and as high as Full Metal Alchemist is that they have this strong theme of exploring human nature, the aspects of life and death, and then the emotional dealings of life and death on the spectrum of someone who's immortal versus someone who has finite time or has borrowed time. And while the stories are drastically different, they embody very similar themes. And if you've noticed, amongst what I've been saying, a lot of personal development goes into both of these stories. Frieren herself, as someone who's lived for centuries, is learning the different aspects of human nature. She's adjusting herself and how she reacts to humans around her based on her new learnings and her previous experiences. But Frieren isn't the only person that also goes through this personal growth and development. There's a character who ends up joining her party halfway through the current season, who has basically given up his dream of being an adventurer with his friend. His friend has since departed the village way before him. It's been about 10 years, and he still hasn't gone after him, even though he said he would likely go after him, or his friend would come back and then he would go with him. But seeing as his friend has not returned, he just hasn't gone adventuring. Frieren and her party, Fern and Stark, are persistent on constantly pursuing him. And you kind of see a change in his character when he eventually does join Frieren's party. Even though we only spend roughly 3 to 4 episodes with him in the current season, just the sheer small personal development of his character is so beautiful to see. That he departs from Frieren's party because she's going in a separate direction to go truly find his friend after finding clues as to where he is. Something that he was too afraid to do beforehand because he thought his friend was possibly dead. Now focusing solely and mostly on Frieren. The story in the angle / the perspective of Frieren is a little bit different. While it mostly takes place in the present, due to the fact that the story takes place also beyond a time that is motivating Frieren on her journey now, we are often paired with a lot of flashbacks. And these flashbacks are instilled in the story during times that are basically parallel to her previous journey and her current journey. And for me personally, I often find myself tearing, emotional, either really happy or sad, depending on the moment that's being shared. And at times, all I ever think is, man, this sucks that I really as an audience viewer didn't get to know Himmel, because it seems like there's so much to him. And even though Frieren only adventured with him for 10 years, it seems like he had such a large impact on her life that she's on this journey to go find his soul. It's not often, or I have yet to encounter, a story where the adventure and the main plot takes place after a bigger adventure. The aspect of defeating a demon lord is a common sought-out storyline or commonly written storyline in fantasy anime. This story decides to say, hey, let's just sum it up real quick in the first episode that they defeated the demon lord, and the whole story actually starts 70 years after that. I don't think you could say that there's an anime out there that exists from that concept or that perspective. And while they still do fight demons along the way, their journey no longer is to defeat this higher evil antagonist being. Their journey is now to find peace in their grief, essentially. And I'll add that, going back to Full Metal and Frieren comparison, both stories seem to embody strong female characters. I think that adds more weight to its popularity, let's just say. And then both anime are, as I mentioned, action/shonen anime. I think in general, shonen, action, adventure, battle anime tend to be more attractive to people in the anime community. I mean, you could look at any social media platform, YouTube, even my anime list, and you'll kind of notice that most of the things that people are talking about tend to be an action, adventure, or battle anime. Or you're able to converse with more people about those things. Let's put it that way. And the last point that I'd like to address is that even though the themes and the tone of both Frieren and Full Metal tend to be a little bit deep and could be dark at times, since we're exploring the aspects of life, death, and grief, and essentially the aspects of human nature as well. They both do a good job at peppering humor at the right times and the right moments. Because sometimes this heavy themes and material can be a downer for some viewers who watch anime to escape life. So I love the fact that while it is exploring a fundamental theme that I think us as humans constantly think about in life, which makes it so incredibly relatable and easy to connect to, it does ensure and make sure that the audience is still able to laugh and have lighthearted moments, which is what life is all about. It's all about the ups and the downs, living your life, and then eventually passing away. I think these themes and the way that it's constructed in the storyline has prompted Frieren to be notably high rated. Now, this is just from the perspective as to why it's possibly ranked so high on my anime list. These are just my theories in drawing connections between both of the anime. But I think overall, anime that allows viewers to really connect emotionally while balancing realistic themes and tones with some humor often is a great recipe for a fantastic anime. And whether you've seen Frieren or not, or whether you like Frieren or not, I think if you really take the time to boil it down as to why fans on my anime list have ranked it so high, in contrast to Full Metal Alchemist, I think you'll definitely see that there are some commonalities between them, which could help explain what anime fans in general like, and what, perhaps as a population, makes us think an anime is great. These are just my thoughts and analysis as to why both Frieren and Full Metal Alchemist are so well liked, but most notably Frieren, since this is causing the most commotion right now.
Special thanks to Life with Anime Podcast for putting me on Frieren. Please check out their Instagram and YouTube pages, as well as the actual anime podcast. Their Instagram and YouTube page info for both of these will be posted in the description. Without them, I would have never discovered this show.
Please let me know in the comments below what you thought of the points that I've raised and the analysis on Frieren specifically. If you haven't seen either anime, please go check them out. You can watch Frieren on Crunchyroll, and you can watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood specifically on Hulu. I'm actually not sure if it's on Crunchyroll, but if it is, I'll let you know somewhere in this video. If you enjoyed this video, please check out some of the other videos that I have on my page, as I have been doing quite a few analyses lately. However, that's going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for joining us always and all the support that you provide me and my channel. It really means a lot to me lately. I will catch you all next time in the next video. This has been Mel. I am the host of AniMel, and this is ta-ta for now. Bye!